Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of A Father's Life Healing Through Heartache. I'm here again, as always, with my good friend Chris. Chris, it's good to see you. How are you?
As always, Dan, good to see you. Glad to be back and looking forward to talking today.
So, Chris and I figured that we would continue our discussion on last week's topic, How Are You? Last week we focused a lot about the mental side of things with the trauma, the grief, those angles. And there's another side that we can address today, and that goes along with our day to day functioning. And so, Chris and I are going to dive into that. And I know Chris is going to talk a lot this week about what's about to happen in his life next weekend. So, I'm going to just throw it right to you, Chris, and let you take whatever you want. How are you?
All right, hey, thanks, Dan. Yeah, it's going to be a hard week for sure. It already feels it. We can feel it as it's leading up, as we're coming up on our first anniversary of Mason being gone, and so we're. It's an anxious feeling, if that's a good way I can put it. It's it's hard in the sense we know he's not coming back no matter what. Part of me is relieved that I think once it's over, we made it through the first year of firsts without him, the first birthday, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, um, and I have hope. I think I have a lot of hope, especially with Dan and I know some other fathers that have lost their children um, a lot longer than the way we have. I have a friend that's lost his son 9 years ago. Another friend that I've introduced to Dan, he lost his son about 30 years ago, and they give me hope that even though the pain is always going to be there, that we can get through this and we can still live a happy life with our other children and our wives and our families and our life in general. So while I'm anxious and I want it to be over with, I'm glad that it's going to be over with and that we made it through that first year, if that makes sense. How was it for you, Dan, when your first year?
That totally makes sense. I think everybody is under the impression that yeah, the first year is the hardest, and Chris and I won't dispute that at all because you go through every single first of every holiday and birthday and special events, and I know for Erica and me, we were gearing up the whole week or the whole month or the whole year, I guess, for that day. And what surprised me was that I had mentally prepared myself so hard for Friday, February 27th, 2020. And what hit me hard was February 26th, 2020. Because everybody focuses naturally and understandably so on the day that our boys died. And it may have even started the night before on the 25th, but definitely on the 26th when I woke up, it hit me that that was the last day that I had Jameson alive. And I didn't expect that at all. I was not prepared for that. And Erica and I both just woke up that day and we were a mess all day long. Um, I I don't know if I've talked about this in the podcast. I confuse who I've talked to about things, but I don't know if I believe in signs. Chris and I have talked about this, and maybe he'll share the sign that he enjoys getting because I like hearing that story. But I don't know if I believe in signs very much. But if there were signs sent from loved ones above, I got one that morning at school. I went in and I was preparing my math lesson for the day, and I knew the topic I wanted to teach, but I didn't have the textbook page. And I was flipping through the pages in our workbook, and I found the section that related to that topic for that day. And there were like 3 pages, and I was just flipping through reading the questions, and then I got to one of the questions, and it said Jameson ran a race with, and I don't even remember the rest of it. It doesn't matter. And that just crushed me emotionally. I broke down, but then also it was such a relief, a positive relief again for that moment that wow, if there are signs that the day of the anniversary of the last day that he was alive, the random math page I happened to pick out of our math book has his name in it, and his name isn't that common, and just everything about that moment hit me at both ends of the emotional spectrum. So that was crazy. And then later that day, when one of my students had turned in her work, I was grading it. She had circled his name, and in tiny little letters, she had written "joy" and added Jameson's joy to it. And that was, again, it's just such a little thing that was so special from my student. So yeah, the day before for us was actually turned out to be much harder.
Yeah, that date for me is actually today, to be honest with you, Dan, because today is the last day we had Mason last year, where everything was still good and our life was happy. We had a birthday party for my oldest son, Ryan. He wanted to do like a little camping sleepover in the backyard with his friends, so we did it. And yeah, I've been thinking about it a lot today. Mason had a ton of fun that day playing with all of the friends and jumping on the trampoline. And um, Mason even slept in the tent. So I'm one of those paranoid parents. Even though we lived on base and it was in the backyard with a fence, like I was still up all night, like checking every hour, making sure they were good. And one of the times I happened to check, Mason wasn't feeling well, and I brought him inside, and I thought he was just a little bit sick, and come to find out, it was really the pneumonia was starting to take over, and the ADEM was starting to take over. We didn't know it at the time because tomorrow or the next day, Mother's Day, is when Mason got really sick and went to the hospital for the first time for it, and it was bad. It was really rough. So I'm obviously anxious for tomorrow being first off Ryan's actual birthday and then Mother's Day. So Ryan, I feel bad for him because he's always going to associate his brother's passing with his birthday now, unfortunately, just because of the way it worked out. And the same thing, Mother's Day will never be the same probably for the rest of Amanda's life, in the sense that she's always going to remember on Mother's Day was the day that was the last time. Well, that wasn't the last time she got to talk to Mason one more time, because after Mason's first ADEM episode, he came out of it and was talking to us the next day. Then the very next day, he never came out of it again. So this whole week is going to be pretty emotional, I'm sure. We're going back to Buffalo to visit his grave, which I think is important. I'm going to try and do that as often as I can. Um, I think to go visit him on that anniversary of losing him is important. We're going to go there and visit him and talk with him. And yeah, it's gonna be hard no matter what. But I've had those feelings today, remembering the last fun day for sure. In terms of signs, yeah, I do. The pennies from heaven. A friend of ours sent us a little jar that explained the story, pennies from heaven, that whenever you're having a bad day, if you find a penny on the ground, that's your loved one saying that they're thinking about you and they're there with you. And it's it's not weird. I truly believe it, because in the sense, there's been some really bad days, and I'd say, Mason, I need a penny, and people don't carry as many pennies around as they used to anymore, and I'm still finding them when I need them. I actually found one 2 days ago when I was coming out of work, and it was just another bad day, and yeah, I found one right by my truck. So I believe there's signs come from our loved ones, and why not believe it? What is there's no shame or heartache in that. It's, if it helps me get through the day or others get through the day believing that there's signs from their loved ones, then you should definitely use those moments to help you get through the grief and the agony that you're feeling right now. So going on to the next topic, Dan, we talked about how are you? How are you? How are let's talk about that difficult day to day operation of literally getting up and trying to stomach through it all. Let's hear your side, how you deal with it.
Yeah, I think on a day to day basis, first of all, I'm exhausted. Life is just completely draining in every sense, and there's no time to recharge. I don't sleep well. I think I talked a couple weeks ago about my physical, and I had it, and it was weird sitting in the doctor's office talking about sleep patterns, and when you go into the doctor and they're asking you those questions about have you ever thought about harming yourself or all that angle of things, that was the first time I've had to address those questions. And I was honest with the nurse when she asked me, yeah, I've thought about dying. And you could see her like kind of jump back because that's their job. They're looking for signs of people that need help. And I'm like, let me explain to you why. And I told her, and she's like, okay, okay, I'm familiar. And she kept going with the question. She asked me if it was okay, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to answer them all. I need to be very clear that I'm not suicidal. But yeah, as Chris and I have discussed, I'm okay dying today to go see Jameson. If the good Lord wants to take me home, then so be it. I'm not afraid of it anymore. But I'm exhausted every day. I don't sleep well. Chris and I have been talking about exercising. I have not exercised in years, and that just makes me feel worse. I haven't cared about my diet, so I haven't been eating right. That doesn't help day to day. But I think the biggest thing that I wasn't expecting was my memory. I cannot remember things. Day to day tasks at work, or this paper is due back in the office by such a date. I I struggle with that, and thank God I have two colleagues that still, they're the ones that from day one have covered me, where they understand it, and I can go into their room at any time. It's like, hey, what is this paper? Where was the email? And they will just send me the info right again. They will take their time and help me out with that. Without them, I don't know where I would be. My memory is just awful. Chris?
Yeah, for me, I think the thing I struggle with the most is kind of the daydreaming, or I do a lot of thinking of the past and just remembering the moments for me, which can be difficult at work. But it is what it is. I haven't talked to the doctor about it at all. I haven't really thought about it really until we had talked about it now before we started the podcast of what really affects me the most. I really think that's probably one of the more difficult things I deal with is like I'll just be working, typing at my computer, doing something, and then I'll look at. I have pictures of Mason and all the boys and Amanda all around my computer at work, and I'll look at something and then kind of go into a daze, and then I'll snap out of it and be like, "Oh, it's been 5 or 10 minutes. I didn't even realize I've been gone that long." So that is one of the things that's definitely affected me on the more day to day. I think really, like you said, the daily grind is a lot more difficult than it used to be. The waking up, just trying to muster the energy to get through the day, putting a listen. I don't expect people to give me sympathy all day long because they have their own lives and we're humans. Everybody centers around your own life. That's what's important to you. So I don't want to go to work being the Debbie Downer all the time and being sad all the time. So there's a lot of times I put a face on and just try to joke around, try to make everybody as happy because I want to be that happy too. But at the same sense, a lot of times it's just a face. It's not really who I am at that moment. Um, and is it right or wrong? I don't know. I'm still trying to navigate the best option for how to get through that moment. I would agree with you a lot in the sense of like the physical aspect. I definitely don't sleep as well. I didn't sleep a lot as it was before, and now I definitely am physically tired all the time in terms of sleep. And I think for me, the hardest thing is the diet, like you said. I put on probably 50 pounds after Mason passed away. And I've been slowly working at trying to get it off now,
Yeah.
but I've kind of plateaued for the last 2 or 3 weeks on my weight loss. And, I was down about almost 20 pounds um, from that 50 that I had gained, but now I'm kind of, I don't know if it's because of the stress of the month, that it's getting closer to Mason's passing, and maybe once that's over, I'll be able to get past it. Like we've talked about before, me being in the military, they of course expect us to be very physically fit. So I do, and the foundation that I'm trying to set up for Mason is miles for Mason. So I got to put those miles in to live that motto. So I'm putting the miles in, but if you're not putting the diet in with the exercise, it doesn't work. If you're eating unhealthy but you're still working out, you're not making any strides at all. So that's been a difficult part for me, because a lot of times for me personally, if I'm having a bad day and Amanda's having a bad day and we don't want to cook, we're just ordering out, or like whatever. We'll just order out or fend for yourself, figure out what you want to eat on your own. Boys, what do you want? I'll make something for you real quick. And that's, it is what it is. It's not the right answer, but I would venture to say that a lot of other grieving families go through those moments the first couple of years to trying to navigate. I think a lot of times it's hard to make dinner, because we used to make dinner for 4 boys and now we're only making it for 3 boys, and it is a difficult thing to think about, and it's a daily reminder, a couple times a day, 3-4 times a day. So that is a hard part for me in the physical sense of how it's been affecting us. Did you have that, Dan?
Yeah, I think, again, I'm a year ahead of Chris, for better or worse. But yeah, all day, every day, there are those reminders that everything Chris is saying about the food and cooking, we've gone through it and we still are. Uh, Everything that we do all day long, there's a kid missing. We open the closet door to get our coats, and there's 2 backpacks, and only one of them is coming out. There's the box of shoes. One side is Reese's, one side is Jameson's, and it's always sitting there, not being touched. Lunch boxes, packing the contain, just, and again, it's stupid things. You open the cupboard to grab a lunch container, and you only pull one out. That is our life. I, Sitting at the dinner table has been, still 2 years, over 2 years into it, almost impossible for me to do, because directly across from me there's an empty seat that used to have a giggly little boy. So I think those are great examples, and Chris and I could probably go on for hours of just everything all day long, that it's a fraction of our whole, and it eats away with us all day, every day. For me, one of the worst ones is being a teacher. I was fortunate enough that the boys were at my school with me, and every day, every single day at 2:40, 2:45, I could count on 2 little blonde-headed boys coming into my classroom while I was wrapping things up with my students, and smile on their face, "Hi, Dada." And then my kids, they got along great with Jameson and Reese, and they would do whatever they did, and that doesn't happen anymore. And I still, almost daily, I try hard in my head at night to say goodnight to myself from Jameson in his voice. I can still hear his voice, his tone, his intonation, his rhythm, everything about it. And all I have is the memory in my head now. So I think those are all great examples, again, for anybody wondering how we're doing. We we deal with it all day, every day.
Yeah, I think one of the things that was actually really difficult for me, especially right after Mason passed, after the funeral, after we got back to Idaho. You got to start getting in some sort of routine again. Grocery shopping was really hard for me, to be honest. Each kid has their very specific things they wanted, so we'd buy, a couple little snacks for them that we knew they liked. And I think I brought it up once before. Mason was 100% popsicles. He wanted popsicles. He loved them. He handed them out to the neighborhood. And
Hmm.
man, every time I went past those popsicles, um, I got a little, I got a little
We
sneaker
we
sign
we
in
love
here.
it. Even on a podcast, we get photobombed once in a while. Chris,
Got a little photo bomb from
certainly, if you want to
Carson here.
if you want to introduce him, go ahead. I think
Sure.
people would love to meet him and see that smiley face.
Right. Everyone, if you're watching on the video, this is Carson. He's hopping in. He's playing his little what are you playing today? Call of Duty, like he likes to play pretend soldier. So I think that's what he's playing right now. So now.
I think he snuck up on the enemy and got him. I'll tell
So
you, Chris. Carson popped in a few weeks ago too, and it made me smile. It made my heart happy because going through what we're going through, that was the first time I had met any of your family other than you.
yep,
So, I love seeing him pop in there.
yep. So okay, can I finish up? Yeah. Okay, put those on. So the grocery shopping was the hard part for me. He, loved those popsicles, and that was a hard part for me to get through. Was not buying or seeing new popsicles that I was like, man, gosh, she would have loved these. That was definitely these little things that are so minuscule to the average human, to the average American, just going to the grocery store, playing catch with the boys, or I have
Mm-hmm.
4 sons. They're all got their little quirks and things they like to do, and they all do the same thing in some sense. And trying to do that with them because I'm their dad, and they want that. They want to spend time with their dad. Um, the difficulty of actually doing it because you're thinking of all the times you did it with your son who passed away as well. Playing football was a hard one because I used to play tackle football with Mason and Carson all the time, and it was a lot of fun, and we laugh and have fun. And to not have that moment anymore is very difficult for me at points for sure. So I'm thinking about, Carson's going to be starting soccer soon. Probably if there's a summer league, we'll get him in. Otherwise, as soon as the fall comes, which will be here before we know it, he'll finally be 5 and he can start in a summer league or a fall league for soccer. And soccer was Mason's sport. He was very dominant at his age. Even at the age of 7, he could hang with 10 or 11-year-olds easily with soccer. He could outrun them, he could outmaneuver them, and he could still score. So missing those, I guess, proud dad moments with Mason, watching him do that and just be like, wow, this is going to be fun to watch as he keeps growing older. Knowing that I won't have those moments now is difficult.
Yeah, I'm struggling right now because baseball, softball, t-ball season just started in our area a few weeks ago, and every time I drive by the fields, which we drive by, the fields are located in a spot that we drive by them almost every day, and seeing those kids out there hurts. And seeing the dads out there playing catch with their boys hurts because Jameson loved soccer, Jameson loved baseball. And the season before we moved out here, he Jameson was an average player, but he worked hard. You're not going to outwork that kid, and his attitude to get better was phenomenal. So we spent many days out there. Went before practices started, after practices started, days that there weren't practice. We actually had a ball field in our neighborhood that we would go up to a couple times a week to put in the extra work. He would stay with his coaches afterwards, and he was able to, his last season in the Raleigh area, he was chosen by his coach to be on the All-Star team. He wasn't good enough to make it with the evaluations, but his coach knew his work ethic and his attitude, and so he chose him. And Jameson kept working hard and getting better and better, and he worked his way up. He ended up being the starting second baseman on the All-Star team. So you just take this average ability kid. I mean, he was good, but he wasn't great. And in baseball, he had no power. He could hit the ball consistently, and he would run his tail off, and he could usually beat the throw. But he's not one that's going to hit it into the outfield in the air very often. but he would stay after practice taking extra batting practice just to get better and better. And so it's really hard to look at that baseball field and know that, yeah, I'm not going to be able to throw the ball with him anymore. And I think I've shared before, Reese is not our athlete, and that's fine. But a dad wants to play catch with his boy, and that's missing from my life. And it's hard. It's really hard.
Yeah, I can definitely imagine that'd be extremely hard. So I'm sorry, obviously, that you're dealing with that, Dan. And it's got to be hard going out there and, like you said, handing the stuff out to the other teammates. Each player, I've noticed for myself at least when I look at other players, I can just picture that moment with Mason being in that uniform, being out there having fun. So I know that makes it even more difficult for those moments. Um,
Yeah.
any other physical things that are really kind of make it difficult for you to get through
Well,
the day?
I want to back up, actually, Chris, if we can. And I know, I wish that for those that don't know, Chris and I try to record the episode a week ahead of time. I wish this episode was coming out before tomorrow, because tomorrow is Mother's Day. But it's not a physical thing, but it ties into what we were talking about last week of words. Hearing good morning is really hard for me. Hearing people say it's a beautiful day is really hard for me. Again, we totally understand that's the way people greet each other and you're not doing anything wrong. But as Chris kind of alluded to earlier, again, that we put on faces that we hope that you'll just understand that we're not trying to be rude or distant, but things are hard for us to hear and say. And one of the things that I struggled with tremendously was happy birthday and happy Father's Day. And I know Erica struggles with it with happy Mother's Day. And again, I wish this was being published before tomorrow because I would encourage all the friends of the Lepardies to be careful with your words. Because, again, you mean well, we get that, and that's the thing you say, but it's probably not going to be. It's definitely not the same definition of happy that most mothers and fathers get to go through, especially on the first one. And birthdays are never the same because there's never again going to be a little cake that a little 9-year-old boy is helping to eat and things like that. It's just, for me, it's just another day. And it's hard to watch other people celebrate it. And again, it's not anything anybody's doing wrong. You all, yeah, absolutely celebrate it, make the most of your moments, but understand that if we're not as joyous, obviously you know why.
Yeah, for sure. I feel horrible for my wife because tomorrow is 1 year ago. Tomorrow, on Mother's Day last year, was when Mason first got sick. He first started showing signs that something was wrong. We took him to the ER, found out he had pneumonia, took him home, and then he had his first ADEM episode, literally probably 5 minutes after I dropped him off from being at the ER. And so, and it was Mother's Day, and so I feel bad for my wife, and knowing that for the rest of her life, her Mother's Days will always be marked knowing that that is the first time Mason got sick. Now he got better for 1 day, or not better, but he came out of his ADEM episode. So the next day, that Monday, we ended up taking him home, and then by Tuesday morning, we were back in Children's Hospital after being life flighted, and the rest of the week is just the way it is. It's history now, and so I feel really bad for my wife. I feel bad for my son. It's his birthday tomorrow. My oldest son Ryan, and he's always going to associate his birthday with um, Mason getting sick. Last year on this date, like I don't know if I said it on this or if I said it before when we were talking earlier, Dan, in the sense that we had a birthday party for Ryan last year. He wanted to do a camping sleepover, and all his friends came over, and they were sleeping over in the tent, and just the difficulty of always having that memory now. That's what makes today hard for me, at least, for sure. And I know it's hard for the rest of the family too, even though we're not in Idaho anymore. The memories pop up on social media, and for me, I look at my memories every day on social media because I like to have the memories. Um, but I know this next week of memories that pop up will be me updating people on Mason's status and then ultimately passing away, which was difficult to post about. So, but to be honest, everyone's been great. We started, I don't want to change topics with this too much, Dan, but we started the second annual Miles for Mason run. Put it on a Facebook event. If you go to Miles for Mason's Facebook page, you can sign up to do the event there. And the event is super simple. In August, on August 14th this year, you just go out and do a 5K of whatever you want. You can walk, you can run, you can bike, you can swim, whatever you want. And when you're done, you just post a picture on social media saying, what you appreciate about your family, your life, and you just put a hashtag Miles for Mason on it. So we started doing that. We started doing another t-shirt fundraiser in order to build up all the funds that we'll need to get the organization started in terms of the legal funds, and then having a little bank account set up for the organization once we actually set up the 501 3C. So that's what we're working on now. So it's a good distractor for me. And, you've been a great mentor in helping me with getting this stuff set up. So I appreciate all of that. And it's just something that kind of keeps me motivated to keep moving forward. And I know you understand that if you want to talk about Jameson's Joy a little bit.
Yeah, I know. I was distracted very much my first year because, as I've shared, Jameson's Joy was started the day of the service by some friends and community members. And people have said one of the most common things you hear when you're dealing with grief is people say, I don't know what to say. And I can't say that we understand that, but we get what you're saying. We hear you. We've shared before, though, you can almost never go wrong sharing a memory, and you can almost never go wrong saying our kid's name. And I want to shout out to all of Jameson's Joy's followers to sign up for the 5K on August 2nd, because it doesn't matter who we hear our son's names from. To hear our son's name matters. And the Lepardi family needs that love. The Cortine family needs that love. There's a lot of families out there that need that love. So, Jameson's Joy Nation, if you would, go to Miles for Mason Facebook page, find the event, sign up for it, and go. Again, you don't have to run. My family does not run. We're not doing it. I may ride the 5K on my new exercise bike, but we'll do it. No, we'll go for a family hike. That's what we did last year, because it makes a difference to know that our son is not forgotten. People come out in full force for the funeral. They're around for a few weeks after, and then they go back to their lives, understandably so. We're still here, as we've shared many examples already. We're still stuck in this world that will never change. And we need you guys. We need you to give us that energy to help get us out of bed and get us through the day. And hearing our kids' names does that. So, August 2nd, 5K, everybody. Walk it, run it, hike it, bike it, skydive out in an airplane for 3.1 miles. That'd be pretty cool, I bet, huh, Chris?
That would be pretty cool, yeah.
But
it's August 14th, actually.
Oh, sorry, I had August 2nd in my mind. It's August
No
14th. August 14th.
Yes, August 14th.
Let's.
And like you said, it feels good when people, put that hashtag Miles for Mason or Jameson's Joy, because it means people aren't forgetting our sons. And that is ultimately my goal now as I start setting up the Miles for Mason organization. And just like you have Jameson's Joy, the goal is to make sure that they're not forgotten, because they were amazing children. And, sometimes I get, I know it's my social media site, but sometimes I'm like, man, are people sick of me posting so much about Mason. And then I'm like, you know what? I don't care because it's mine. So if they don't want to see it, they can take me off or they can just ignore it and keep scrolling through. And most of the times I get a lot of support, and I appreciate that so much from my friends because the goal is to make sure our children are not forgotten. And that's why we're pushing so hard with this stuff.
Absolutely, and same with both of us, Jameson and Miles for Mason. Um, when we're grieving, life is bad, and we've certainly shared a lot of examples. Both the Lapardis and my family were trying to make something positive come out of our boy's death because otherwise, what do we have? They died and they're gone, and we're miserable. And that's the driving force behind both of our nonprofits is that we want to do some good in the communities, do some good in the world, and have a legacy of our child's legacy be passed on to other kids. And Chris and I have talked about it with the podcast that if we can get one person that is affected by it, it's a success. But we know that there are a lot of people out there that are grieving or walking alongside somebody grieving. So we're hopeful for that good comes out of it. It's just it's helpful. I know I have the exact same thoughts on social media that I hope people aren't getting sick of it. The likes are very few and far between. They're everybody the first few months or the first year when it's set up, they're like, yes, go, 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 and donations are coming in very heavily and all that. And then just like everything else, it it slows down and people go back to their lives. And there's been numerous days that I've questioned, is Jameson's Joy making, are we making a difference? Is it worth the effort or should I just give it all up? So just another thing that people can do is just, yeah, keep encouraging us. Personally, we need you to be there with us as hard as it is. Just let us know that you're there and you hear us and you haven't forgotten us. And then with our foundations, let us know if you're there. I've asked multiple times on Jameson's Joy Facebook page for people to leave comments of, has this impacted you at all? And every time I've asked directly for it, it's been radio silence and not one single comment has come through. And that's hard. At the same time, I do, and just today, people do still share stories face to face, which is wonderful. Please keep doing it. It's important. But I to honor Jameson, I've signed up to be on the board of the Transylvania Little League this year. Since Jameson can't play, it's the least I can do to try to help at least all the other kids have a good successful year, and it's a way I can give back. And again, it's hard. It's really hard going there, but it's something that it honors Jameson. And throughout the time I'm there, I have those moments of joy just with the memories. Facebook memories is awful. Oh my god, it crushes you, but it brings back the beautiful part. It's one picture is both ends of the emotional spectrum. Again, like Chris said, it's a beautiful thing and an awful thing. But I was at the fields this morning, and we're sponsoring. We're one of the many sponsors of the league, and we're giving. So I've been giving out our kindness cards for the kids to go out and hopefully do something in the community to help somebody else in need. And we have helmet stickers honoring Jameson's number 9 for his last baseball season, and that's special to us too because the day that he died was 3 days before his evaluation for the Little League here in his new town. And I think I've shared before, we had gone to Dick's and bought him a new baseball backpack, new batting gloves, a new bat, everything. And he was every day he was in the driveway swinging that bat ready to go. And he never got that chance because February 27th happened earlier. So I think, yeah, just everybody support Miles for Mason as much as you can. We want to hear from you. If we're making a difference, let us know. It helps.
Yeah, and I would say, Dan, you're definitely helping out. Daddy Hug book. Carson brings that up to me a couple times a week. I read that to him. He absolutely loves that book, and I think you should tell a little bit about how much money you raised and how many books you were able to give out to other dads, because that was an amazing thing that Jameson's Joy did, and people need to hear about it so they can get involved with that part of Jameson's Joy.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Yeah, and actually, the timing is great because I just got a good email last night about it. For the last, I guess, since last September when the fitness course opened in town, we've shifted our focus to connecting dads with their kids. And the main way that we're doing that right now is providing a copy of the book Daddy Hug. It was my favorite book to read with Jameson and Reese when they were super little, and we just want to give that to dads and let them read with their kids. And we were able to secure a partnership with Rex Hospital in Raleigh, which is the hospital where Jameson and Reese were both born. My board president reached out to every hospital in our area and every hospital in the Raleigh area, and the only one that said, "Yeah, let's talk about that and see if we can do it," was Rex Hospital in Raleigh, where Jameson and Reese were born. And we sent them a copy of the book so they could go through their process of all the red tape stuff, and they said, "Yeah, let's do it." So we're going to send them over the next year 5,000 copies of the book Daddy Hug for free, and they are going to put one in every bag, go home bag of every dad when he's taking his newborn baby home. And that obviously just pumps me up big time. There's 5,000 dads that are going to be given something to read with their newborn, and start them early, because being a teacher, we see it every day of kids that don't have fathers in their life, and that's a big problem that we want to try to change. And we did a huge fundraiser back on in the month of February in honor of Jameson's 2-year anniversary of passing, and we raised over $14,000 thanks to hundreds of really super generous people who got on board our mission of Daddy Hug books. And so we've got the entire year of books paid for already. We're obviously hoping that when the books start getting handed out, donations will keep rolling in so that we can go year 2 and year 3 and keep going. But then since then, I was connected through one of Erica's old photography clients to the main hospital at UNC Hospital in Chapel Hill, and we're sending 60 copies of the book Daddy Hug to them to give to fathers of the kids who are in the NICU and can't go home for Father's Day this year. And so I'm super pumped about that. And our local pediatrician here in the mountains of North Carolina is getting 300 copies of the book, and they're going to hand it out to the fathers when they bring in their newborns for their first well check visits. So we're super super excited that those 3 hospitals and doctors' office have partnered with us and allowing us to do that, and we're hoping that we can keep fundraising and do it more than just one year. And again, I think that goes back to, again, just your support means the world to us. That we're not we're not running these foundations to make a profit. None of it goes to us. There's no salaries involved. We have not paid the Jameson's Joy board 1 penny in the 2 years we've existed, and I know Chris will be doing the same thing. 100% of the money is going back to our mission. There are some fees like insurances and foundation certification fees and all that, but I mean, it's 95% of the money that comes to us goes right back in the community, and it's been awesome. I got the email yesterday from the publisher that they're thinking somewhere in mid-May that the books will be ready, all 5,460 of them. Because I'm getting 100 at my house too, just to hand out personally to dads. But 5,460 books within the next week or 2 are going to be sitting on the shelves in Indianapolis, Indiana, waiting for the go-ahead to mail them to the right places. So we ordered the stickers that we're putting in the front cover telling Jameson's story. Those were ordered last night, and we're hoping the timing works out that Father's Day this year that 60 dads in UNC Chapel Hill are going to be able to read with their kids in the NICU.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, like I said, Carson loves the book. Like every time I read it to him, he's like, "That's you, Dad, and that's me, and that's Mason, and that's Ryan, and that's Aiden," and he does it to every single picture. If it's one of the animals where there's only two or three of them, he'll say, "Well, that's me, and that's Mason," and he'll leave the other older boys out. But he loves it, and I think other dads, if you get a chance, go to Jameson's Joy, go to their webpage, go to their Facebook page, check out the story, check out what Dan's doing with it because it is awesome. And Jameson's Joy is 100% making a difference to those dads out there with their kids. So keep pushing hard with that and helping support them to keep that mission growing because I think that is an amazing mission and something that gets my mind flowing for my organization. What do I want to do? We're still in the really early stages. We know kind of what we want to do, but I want to wait until I have some board members, like Dan said, and I want to get some of their ideas because, my ideas, they're probably okay, but a team is going to be way better. So once I have my board set up, I'm looking forward to really diving in there and start making that difference with Miles or Mason, just like Jameson's Joy is doing every day.
I think, and that's another great example of how our friends and family and listeners, complete strangers, can support us. It is hard to find board members for a foundation. I'm shocked at how difficult that's been because it does take a time commitment and it takes you away from your job or your family or whatever's going on in your life. But if you are a person who is a really good thinker, creative with ideas, if you're experienced with handling money, every board is required to have a treasurer and file taxes. So that's a hard to fill spot because people are scared of handling money for an organization. But just if you're a creative thinker, and even if you just simply have a passion for helping, um, reach out to us because it's a need that needs to be filled. We've shared about Jameson's Joy. It's dads. If that's your passion and you want to get involved and be on the ground level making a difference, let me know. I want to talk. And Chris, do you want to share again, Miles for Mason, what your main goals at this point are, even though you're crafting the rough idea, so that maybe you'll
Yeah,
speak to
so
somebody's heart?
ADEM is obviously not something that a lot of people know about, so we want to get the awareness out there for it. So maybe if you see something with your kid or someone else's kid, you can say, "Hey, have you ever heard of this? Maybe this is something you can bring up to the doctor." Because I personally think if not that our doctors didn't know, but because this was such a rare um, sickness, they didn't know right away, and it caused delay. So I really want to get the ADEM awareness out a little bit and get people understanding that. And I truly, the way I kind of envision it is, besides the ADEM awareness, I really want to get more kids in youth sports. In this digital age of kids always on their phones or TV or PlayStation, Xbox, whatever, Switches, a Nintendo Switch. Mason, while he played those, he was outside. He was an outside kid. He was my most outside kid. He was one of those kids. He'd come inside, eat dinner in 2 minutes, and be back out the door with his friends, um, playing sports all day long. He was involved in every sport from basketball, baseball, soccer. Played a lot of, we were actually just about to sign him up for flag football because he really wanted to start playing football. And I really want to give kids that opportunity to play that might not have those opportunities in terms of enrollment fees, sports equipment, cleats, whatever they might need. Again, very early stages of planning, but that is where I foresee that I would really like the Miles for Mason organization to grow, is helping kids get into sports and giving them that opportunity if they don't have that chance. So very early stages, still a lot of planning. Don't know what I'm doing. I'm using Dan here as a mentor guiding me. And, this fundraiser we're doing right now is really setting up the initial fees that we're going to need that Dan was talking about, the legal fees, setting up the actual organization legally, and having that little bank account set up so that way once we find our board and our treasurer, we have something to at least start with, and then maybe once I don't know, I have to, I know we've talked about this, Dan. I do want to do an episode where you really explain how you set up James's Joy, because I'm sure there's other people out there that might want to set up an organization for their loved one that might have passed. And I think you're a great mentor in that sense, and you could really help a lot of people out with that.
And I can say right now for all of the followers of Miles for Mason is that it really helps if you when we're starting a foundation to have a little pot of money. We can create our vision a little bit easier and say, okay, this is the way we're going to go right now. So again, the 5K, buy those T-shirts up. I know Chris has a goal of 50. If Chris is anything like me, he's secretly hoping for 100. What's your number, Chris? I know it's not
Yeah,
50.
no, it is 100. In fact, we passed 50. We're at 55, so I changed the goal to 70 now. And since we're still so early, the run isn't until August, and I'm not going to close the T-shirt fundraiser until July sometime, so that way the shirts can get printed and get to everybody before the actual run. We still got a couple months, and I'm hopeful that continual advertising and throwing it out there to other Facebook groups and whatnot, that we're going to get to that goal, so that way we can have that little bit of pot of money just to going off of what you said, Dan, was try to make as much as you can and have it ready to go, so that way you can hit the ground running with whatever you need.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, I mean, we buy T-shirts for the stupidest things. We go to a concert and we buy a T-shirt. And somebody who's already financially well off is getting more money. We'll buy souvenir T-shirts that are 2, 3, 4 times as expensive as they should be when we go on a trip. And what's the purpose of all those? It's for us to have a memory. Here you have a chance to buy a T-shirt that actually makes a difference and goes back into the community. I think it's a great opportunity, and um, I know Jameson's Joy, our T-shirts, we make a couple bucks off each shirt. It's not a ton of money when you look at all the fees to print the T-shirts, ship the T-shirts, run the organization, everything. It's a couple bucks, but you know what? If Chris sells 100 T-shirts, there's 200 bucks or 300 bucks that he and Amanda know is sitting there when they start trying to implement their vision. So I think it's a great opportunity. Chris spoke about letting kids play sports, even though Miles for Mason isn't set up. That affects tax write-offs. You can't write it off on your taxes as a charitable donation until he is established, but you can still give back and you can still sponsor a kid and pay their registration fee for whatever sport anywhere in the world, or piano lessons or whatever. But I know they want sports. You can sponsor that kid and send the Lepartis a note saying, hey, I just paid for whatever kid. And there's a good chance that you won't even know what kid it is. If you just contact the league directors of the soccer league or the baseball league or the basketball league or the track association, whatever, and just say, hey, I want to donate a registration fee in honor of Miles for Mason. There's a couple things that happen from that. First of all, you give a chance for a kid to play a sport that probably can't afford it and won't get the opportunity. Second of all, the Lepardi family knows that they're making a difference, and it gives them some joy as they're struggling through losing Mason. And the third thing is you're sharing their message. And somebody is going to, what is this Miles for Mason thing? And they're going to come to the Facebook page and they're going to click follow. And then they're going to be up to date. And with any luck, they're going to tell some of their friends, and that's how we grow our missions. So don't wait for the Lepardis to get through all the legal stuff. Start now. We Most of us can afford $50, $75 without a tax write-off to give the chance for a kid to play a sport and to spread their message.
I appreciate that, Dan. And me being in the military, and I'm going to be moving again soon, either by the end of this year or early next year. That's really what I've been kind of waiting for. I'm waiting for the Air Force to say, "Here's where you're going next," and then once I have that knowledge, then I'll say, "Okay, I need to start this organization right now where I'm living, or I'm going to wait until I get to my next base and we'll start it in that state." Or if I'm going overseas to another country, I'm going to be like, okay, I need to start this now while I'm here in the States so that everything's done before I get overseas, and then go from there. So that's kind of, the little holding pattern I'm in right now. It's hard being in the military because we move so often. Um, but I think after this next assignment, it's probably going to be my last assignment if I can kind of time it out the right way. And from there we'll be able to really make some. Once we know where we're going next, we'll be able to make some big moves in terms of Miles or Mason, and securing the name, securing the logo is good, but securing the whole organization altogether is really, that's the next step. So, Dan, maybe that's the next episode. What do you think? Maybe, hey, here's where I started with Jameson's Joy. We know the idea of how it all started, but the legal aspect of, if you want to start an organization, here's what you need to do. Here's how we did it with Jameson's Joy. Here's things that worked. Here's things that didn't work. And I definitely learned some things when we were talking about some things to do or some things to not do to make sure that the organization, some growing pains that you went through.
That sounds good. We can definitely plan on that, and I know that we're gonna try to get one of our guests on here in the next few weeks too, because we enjoy having them. So yeah, maybe the next few episodes we'll be heading down those roads. So.
And Dan, I know I'm just bringing this up to you now. I know we talked a little bit about it, but there's another podcast out there, and they asked us to be on it as the guest speakers, and we're going to have them on as well. So we solidified a date. I got a message from them, so we'll be out there on some other podcasts, and hopefully bringing our message to their podcast, and some of their followers will come. Hopefully, start listening to us and hear how we're doing, and we can help them in that sense too. So that's on the horizon. We got some big plans. We're still working really hard. We really love the feedback. We love hearing from everyone, and anything we can do to help everyone, please let us know. We're always here for everyone. Even though we're going through our pain, we want to help others get through their pain and know that they're not alone, that there's other people that understand what they're going through.
Yeah, and Chris, why don't you give the name of that other podcast?
Yeah, it's called Sunflowers and Red Feathers.
Yeah.
So if you want to look them up and listen to some of their episodes, they're two moms that I met in Idaho and they lost their sons. And when Mason first passed, I think Amanda and I just happened to meet them on a Facebook group of the Compassionate Friends of Boise, Idaho, and they reached out to us, and they had just started their podcast at that time, and they've been good. They've been able to help us with some things and answer questions for us. And, we're looking forward to going on their podcast and giving a dad perspective, because there are two moms, and, getting some dad perspective out there for them. Because I think a lot of times, for some reason, people, I don't know if they think we don't have feelings, dads, or what, but, so much goes towards the moms when children pass, rightfully so. Moms have a very close connection with their children. They held their children for 9 months. But, us dads, we're here too, and we're grieving just as hard. So bringing a dad perspective is what we're going to help them out with.
Yeah, I was driving home last night, and it was crushing me because it was a radio station doing a drive for ultrasounds for moms, and beautiful thing that they were doing. And understandably so, it was focused on mothers. But they had one guest on there that was just kind of beating the point home extra hard, which was fine. That's what the event was for. But as a dad listening to that, it was starting to get under my skin somewhat, because again, it's like dads matter too. And society paints this picture of dads being uninvolved and all that, but you know what? There's some good dads out there, and Chris and I think we were okay, and we're hurting too. It's different. As Chris said, the very first episode, that we matter, we have feelings. Losing our sons, it crushed us, and it's completely different than our wives. Both are justifiable. We're all rightfully um, hurting, and we all need love and support. So
I agree. What do you think? That's a good point to wrap up for the day, Dan. What do you think?
I think so. So thank you everybody for listening. As always, we would love to hear your feedback via Facebook, Miles for Mason, Facebook, Jameson's Joy. Email us at info@jamesonsjoy. If you're friends with Chris or me, you can send us a personal email if you have our email address. Call us, text us, whatever. We would love to hear your feedback of what you think, if something's helping, something's not helping, further questions, whatever. We would love to hear it. And other than that, we look forward to seeing you all next time on A Father's Love Healing Through Heartache.